A few years ago, Victor Wembanyama was nicknamed the Alien, and for good reason. Night after night, he shows us things we've never seen before, making us wonder if he's even human. Well, he's not, and I'm here to prove it. I'll start with the most obvious evidence, which is his physique. Victor is 2.24 meters tall, which is exceptional even for a height-based sport. In fact, Wemby is in the 99.8th percentile of the league. That's extreme. But height isn't everything. In a game based on handwork, wingspan is also a key factor, and that's where the APE index comes in. The APE index is the ratio of wingspan to height, and it's supposed to be around 1, meaning height equals wingspan. Almost all NBA players have a positive APE index, meaning their wingspan is longer than their height, but for tall players, it's extreme. Since 2000, when they started measuring, we've known the league's tallest players have wingspans 10 to 15 centimeters longer than their height. For Wemby, it's more. With a wingspan of 2.44, he's at plus 20 centimeters on the APE index, placing him in the 99.9th percentile of the league. In fact, only 2 players have ever had a longer wingspan than him. So, if there's a general blueprint for the human body, NBA players are outliers, and Wembanyama is an outlier among outliers. My second piece of evidence is his defense, and I'm not just talking about blocks. It's mainly his movement, timing, and the fact that his arms are as long as an average limousine. Wemby averages 3.5 blocks per game, while the league average is 0.6 for all players and 1.2 for centers. I've never heard of a stat being invented for a player. Well, except for Wemby. Never mind is a statistical term describing a player who drives into the paint, sees Wemby, and simply changes their mind. This means only 27% of shots reach the paint when he's on the court, compared to 33 to 35% when he's off. Oh, and when players do decide to shoot in the paint with him there, they shoot 50% compared to the 61% average. Because he's so intimidating, opponents shoot less against him. He'd actually have more blocks if players weren't so afraid of him. Still, his block rate is 6 times the league average and triple that of centers, putting him on par with the all-time greats. But they didn't hit threes, which brings me to my next point. The third thing we'll discuss is his statistics. Looking at the numbers, it's like 2 players fused together. It also fits with his height. Let me show you his stats from just his first 100 games. He's only improved since then. He blocked 366 shots, more than Hakeem Olajuwon and Shaquille O'Neal. He grabbed 1,050 rebounds, more than Tim Duncan and Anthony Davis. He had 130 steals, more than Draymond Green and Kevin Durant. He made 225 three-pointers, more than Steph Curry and Durant too. And in total, he scored 2,071 points, which is more than LeBron, Giannis, Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, and many other legends. He's also the youngest ever to record a 5x5 in all categories: points, assists, rebounds, blocks, and steals. In total, only 15 players have ever done that. Oh, and many of those blocks he does without even jumping. So we know great shooters and we know excellent defenders who grab rebounds, but we don't know any player who did both. Either you protect the rim and grab rebounds, or you space the floor. He chose not to choose. Oh, and all this he does in less than 30 minutes per game on average. My fourth piece of evidence is his skill set, which doesn't match his body. In practice, such a player should be heavy, slow, and clumsy, but Wemby has guard-like dribbling, agility, and shoots threes. It doesn't look like he broke the laws of biomechanics, he's just not subject to them. The fifth piece of evidence, and closer to my heart obviously, is the subject of his injuries. 3 years ago, when I was a guest on Making NBA, I estimated he'd suffer a serious injury because such a body just shouldn't exist. By the way, it's a bit like Zion Williamson's story and his weight versus his explosiveness, but in his case, as mentioned, it all happened. With Wemby, I still believe such an injury will happen. Such long, thin tendons and muscles are bound to get hurt eventually, especially under inhuman loads. But that's the idea here, isn't it? That he's not human, to understand how exceptional his data is. For an NBA player under 2.10 meters, the chance of injury each season is 15%, and if you're between 210 and 220, it rises to 25%, and above that, it simply hasn't been researched. That's because there just aren't enough players that tall to conduct a normal study. But physics and simple logic say that the taller you are, the higher the chance of injury as well. Whether it's the weight that increases quadratically with every centimeter of height, or the massive torque such long limbs exert on the joints. So far, Wemby has had 1 injury per season, but nothing requiring a long absence. Small injuries here and there, except for one, an outlier. Wemby experienced deep vein thrombosis, something that in itself isn't a rare injury. We've seen Damian Lillard and Chris Bosh experience it too, but the cause of his DVT was exertion and long limbs known as Paget-Schroeder syndrome, which is a very rare form of deep vein thrombosis. Only 0.0005% of the population will experience such an injury. It's not a muscle, ligament, tendon, or cartilage injury, but an unusual one that most people will never even hear of. So even when he gets injured, he does it differently than regular human beings. My sixth piece of evidence is simply his name, Victor Wembanyama. Let's break it down for a moment. Victor is victory in Latin, and Wembanyama is a name of Congolese origin, meaning from Congo, rare. And honestly, outside of Wembanyama's immediate family, I haven't found anyone with that name, as if he fell from the sky. So we have a winner's first name and a last name that doesn't exist in reality. Strange. A few more small pieces of evidence are that he took the All-Star game seriously, and who does that? He's flexible in a way that makes me dislocate my shoulder just watching him stretch, and he's a Frenchman who actually tries to win. When have you ever seen that? But seriously, every now and then we get to see a creature like this who's just too perfect for his sport. Parents with a sports background guiding him from a young age, genetics, natural talent, intelligence, work ethic, and 1,000 other traits that need to align in the right place at the right time. Wemby is like that, more or less perfect. Not 1 in a million, but 1 in 8.1 billion. Good luck.